This is Quentin Pooler. Here is my week 3 project for GAM218 scripting for designers. First off, we had to have use a render texture to render camera input to a texture, which I have right here. This is the material on an object that's got the camera input that you can see here. Next, we had to be able to have the player possess and unpossess another pawn, which can be seen in this sequence that I have here, which is another thing that we had to have for this assignment, which is using a sequence. First, when the player is in the right area and P is pressed, it'll go to the sequence, which will first use a flip-flop, another required part, and the flip-flop will change the color of a light depending on which time. First it will be changing it to yellow, then the second time to white. Then the next step is to unpossess the current pawn and then go to the next one. So first it will go to the second character, then the next time the player presses P, it will go back to the original character they are controlling. The next thing we needed to use was a gate node, which you can see in this blueprint right here. First, when you go through an area that is set up with a trigger box, nothing will happen, but every time it checks to make sure a puzzle has been completed, and if it has, it will go up through and go actually unlock the gate, which will start a timeline, one of at least 3 that I've used here. This timeline moves a static mesh stairs out from a spot where it's kind of in the wall out to where the player can use it to complete the game, and these stairs will not come out until after the puzzle has been completed. The next thing that is required is a couple other timelines. One here is for starting a door to open and rotate, and then we'll play a sound only one time, or else it will just keep playing the sound through the entire loop process of it opening. And that's another timeline there. The next timeline is one that I used, that I turned the light flickering function from the last project and made it into a timeline instead, which will take each of the lights I have set up in an array, another thing that was required for this assignment. And after it gets each light, it will make it play the animation of it flickering, and it does all 3 of them in sync that I have connected to this. The next requirement was to have a sequence and flip-flop, both of which I already showed back in this one, where here's the sequence that I already explained about pressing P and switching characters, which goes into a flip-flop to control each character and change the light. We also had to have a switch, which is in this next one here. When the player pushes the right key, which is in another blueprint, but it will go through an array of materials, and each time that the key is pressed, it goes up by 1, so it cycles through the materials, and once you go through, it will start back at the beginning because of this set to 0 as the default once it goes out of the range. And when I had it so that the puzzle is completed when it gets to this one, so if the player doesn't push again after that because it's matching another object on the screen, that will complete the puzzle and unlock the gate that I showed earlier. The last couple things are a for each loop, which can be seen in the light here, because it goes through an array, each time it goes through this node here is a for each loop. So it'll keep repeating that action until it goes through the end of the array. Another one was a do n, which I have here in an elevator, and another timeline which moves the elevator up and down. And at this point right here, this node makes it so that the elevator will only function 5 times. There's not really a purpose here for that, but it keeps in line with the goals for the assignment to include that somewhere. And so after 5 times activating this, the elevator doesn't function anymore, and hopefully the player has already completed the puzzle at the top of that before that point. And the elevator, I wrote something wrong down in my notes here for the video. It's not the elevator, it is... Sorry, I thought I already had all the right blueprints open. One of these has a... Okay, no, it is in here, sorry. The math function that adds the starting point and the ending point of the elevator together to make it so that it has another point to use in between for the linear interpolation that gives the new location for the elevator. That same math function is also used on the stair, which looks almost identical, and that's all for the blueprints. Now I will go through and show the actual level being played. It's based on the same level that I had from last week, but I've changed some things and incorporated the new stuff we've learned. So just like last week, the player starts off here, walks forward. Here's a new part I added. Instead of just having a hallway there, there's now a door that is locked up right here that will not let you through until you've gone over to the control panel, which is you press E to unlock the door, just like in the first lesson. Now we can progress going through the door into the next puzzle room. You can see the screen on the wall is showing the text render. It's a little hard to see through the phone just because of the glare of the computer screen. But when you go over here, now I can switch. Oh, by the way, this light up here is blue at first. Then when we switch to the next, it's that sequence where that will change the color of that light to yellow now, and we're now controlling the other mannequin in this room to do the puzzle. So here we can do that same block pushing puzzle from earlier. I just need to make sure that all the blocks are actually in the right spots, because once it first triggers, that's the end of being able to access this room. Here we go, pushing, being extra careful to make sure that one's in the right spot. And it's not, so I'm gonna have to restart this because it failed. So sorry about that. I tried my best to push it in the right spot. So now I'm just going to get back to where I was last. Hopefully this time I don't accidentally knock the box out of the trigger box at the last second so that it won't let me progress. Okay, this time it worked. I managed to do it right, and it goes back to automatically when that puzzle is complete. It goes back to controlling the main character again. And now we can finally go into the last room, where here There's a puzzle up here, and the goal for the level is over here, but we can't get up there yet because there's no stairs. So we ride this elevator, which has the do once in it, and we walk up here. It says press C to cycle through the materials. There's a block over here that's the brown wood color, so we have to match those two to progress. First it's a stone, then it's a metallic, then one more push, and now it is the wood. So we can go back over to this spot earlier, which didn't do anything, and this time, if we watch here, the stairs are coming out of the wall, which allows us to progress to the end. It also unlocked the door now so we can get through. And there we go, we reached the end of the level, we won. Thanks for watching this project. And